Hi guys, I'm back with another video along the kitty horror show vein of games. Last one was a bit much. I was actually supposed to be playing a different one today, but it did not want to work. Maybe it's meant for Macs only or something. So we're playing this one. This is actually a browser game, but you do need the base HTML for it, which is odd, but I guess there's content warnings here. There's violence, murder, gore, body horror, and hornets and wasps. So if that doesn't tickle your fancy, then don't watch it. Anyway, let's continue. Oh, this could take a while, huh? I should probably narrate this. The city center. A tangle of squat square buildings with no doors, compressed, their skin knitted together by years and poor planning. The roads are black cobble, black like the sky, so that it looks like the city hangs in empty space. The air quivers and buzzes and shakes. The horizon glows red. The city's heart is quiet, withered, still. Alright, what would I do? Probably this. You walk. The entire city is baying, and it has 1,000 throats. You wander for a time through the streets of a housing district, trying to get away from the still, staring eyes of the hornets that cover the insides of the city walls. You come upon an unactivated glyph covering an alley wall, several feet high, painted in panic. Cull. Okay, that's ominous. Can I do it again? Oh. You walk along a stone side path, which was built with a channel running down the center. The water that trickles constantly down the channel has been stained black and dirty red. It is thicker than it should be, like venom or lymph. Let's enter a building. You pick a door and enter. No one to stop you. You are the only one in the city who isn't hemorrhaging. You approach the ruins of a bathhouse. A hornet, presumably drawn to the moisture or the aroma of soothing herbs, has here attempted to force itself bodily through the front archway. The great bulk of its thorax caught on the door frame, and the hornet has torn itself apart. Ichorous fluid drools from the hornet's sundered body in great loops and strands as it dies slowly. It ignores you. The city's festival square, when not used for praising the gods, becomes crowded over with tents and stalls. Dozens of bodies, most of them punctured by stingers or eviscerated by chitinous jaws, are strewn across the square. Nearly every stall is a splintered ruin. Hornets circle and hover overhead, or cling motionlessly to the nearby city walls. They ignore you. You notice that one of the nearby stalls, which is still intact, once belonged to a brush maker. You step toward the stall and survey the fruits of the dead woman's labor. Glyph painting brushes fanned out across the store, each of them exquisitely beautiful. You kneel and pick one up, placing it in your satchel. Oh, this is fun to narrate. The gardens. Curled up in the shadows of buildings and away from the fires and lights of the city center, mosses climb walls and fill corners, vines drape themselves across forgotten statues, fleshy black willows with violet leaves grope yearningly for the ground and the sky. Doorways are grown over, footpaths are lost. Two hornets are mating in a clearing, backsides connected, bodies writhing and contorting in coital stupor, chitons slick with blood. They ignore you. Let's go to the market. No, alcove. You used to come here sometimes. One of those kinds of anomalies that simply occur in cities that grow naturally. Separated from the garden by a lockless iron gate, a small space walled in by conjoined buildings. A single bench beside a small wishing well. From here, in the small square view of the sky, there are no stars, only wings. Something is shining beneath the water. You reach in to take it. It is a tiny polished hematite statue of a creature called a dolphin. You had imagined them very differently. You take the statuette. Let's go back here. No, this way. Okay. Let's do this again. Nope. This one. Ah, here we go. You allow yourself to become lost in the alleys and cramped footpaths between the city's tiers. The droning of the hornets' wings is incessant, and it bounces and amplifies off of the stone, rushing down to fill the alleys with like water being channeled. It follows you everywhere. Let's go here. A wide stone terrace, 1,000 squares and triangles of colored glass set into the streets, which shone like a field of opalescent. Opalescent? I have never seen that word before. Opalescent diamonds on festival nights, when the moons were full and close. Jesus, that's it. That's close. Okay. Perforated bodies litter the area. The air is rank with blood. Several hornets on the other side of the plaza are ravaging some of the corpses, disemboweling them with their mandibles, puncturing their inert forms with their stingers again and again, reveling. They ignore you. That's fun. The glass would glow and sing depending on the moons, and on the things it felt through the feet of dancers and what was poured on it. You once poured the last of your wine onto a pattern shaped like a moth, and it bathed you in sapphire light, and the song it sang pulled the breath from your lungs like an undertow. Right now, with only blood to drink, the glass is wailing. There we go, let's go here. Houses turn to temples, and the streets are punctuated with shrines, statues, murals. One road leads up the side of a hill, curling serpentine along the slope, to where a great circle of fluted columns holds up the domed roof of the oracle. Nearby, a hornet stands motionless atop the roofs of two conjoined temples, its black head pointed towards you, the orange of the horizon reflected in its carapace. Let's go to the oracle. You ascend the smooth steps that lead up the hill from the temple district and approach the oracle, passing through one of the grand arches that make up its walls. One of the elder invokers is pacing the grand circular chamber, keeping guttering candles lit and crying to himself. Your footsteps signal your entrance. He turns to face you. He goes pale first, then red. He pitches his candle at you, and it snaps against the marble floor. You have murdered us all, he says. We had such hopes for you. The ink so loved you. You could nearly hear it singing. But you have murdered us. For what? For what? Oh. Well, I don't know. The elder spits at you. The air stirs suddenly, guttering the candles. Oh no. The sound of droning approaches fast. The elder casts his eyes about, then begins to run. The oracle shakes as a hornet touches down just outside. The elder screams. The hornet forces its head in through an archway. In an instant, without sound, the hornet's mandibles are around the elder's middle. Without sound, the hornet's mandibles slice the elder in half. The body topples, blood and viscera fanning out across the candlelit marble. The hornet lifts off again, departs. The wide circular chamber is quiet, the orange light of old candles making the columns and archways shake like a mirage. You are surrounded by the judgmental statues of gods and goddesses. On her smooth, naked belly, the statue of hate still wears the glyph you drew upon her. The corpse of an elder invoker is here, divided in half at the trunk. Words abstracted into symbols, woven together, interlocked, activated. Death. Swarm. End. Wings. Night. You are among the most gifted. Even as the ink left your brush, you felt your anger draining, until when the final line was laid against her stone skin, you stood and gawped at what you had done. The cause of your fury forgotten, limbs leaden with shock at your own actions and the knowledge of catastrophic, irreparable change. I really thought I was going to say damage. There were maybe 3 seconds where you might have undone it, might have stopped everything, but they had not taught you how to erase. There is no such thing as impermanent ink. So I did this. Augur, father of the tall stone, god of buildings, tools, cities, and invention. Arya, mother of the endless song, goddess of music, beauty, dreams, and madness. Ink, mother of the page, goddess of language, art, and secrets. Nail, mother of the sea of knives, goddess of chains, agony, blood, metal, and rust. Pyre, father of the sun, god of fire, deserts, salt, and desiccation. Signal, father of the black towers, god of noise, interruption, nightmares, and telepathy. And last but not least, Hate, mother of the hive, goddess of fury, plague, wings, death, and stinging insects. Yeah, notice how that said forgive me. I'm pretty sure it's different from everything else. Okay. Let's go to the apothecary. Tables, bottles, mortars, pestles. A wasp ravages the tissue of a tree, which swells with toxins, which the apothecaries harvest, lance, drain, and use for the mixing of ink. The blood of the city, it had been called by people who now would gasp at their own what the fuck? Presagate? Oh god. Presagacity? Jeez. A robed figure is slouched at a writing desk, an empty bottle in their hand, black fluid running down in rivulets from the corner of their slack mouth. You got poisoned. There is a small glass phial with sharp edges on one of the tables. You pick it up. It feels warm and vibrant, singing to your skin. The wasp that gave the ink that made the gall that made this ink shared your resonance. Did I read that right? I guess so. This ink was meant for you. You slip the phial into your satchel. I've been here before, right? Yeah. Yes, it's library time. The sconces outside the entrance arch have toppled. High above the great domed glass roof of the Athenaeum has been punctured. The hornets swarm in and out, shredding the flesh of history and science to build new nests. One of them clings to the facade, motionless, head pointed toward the ground, its giant eye watching you ambivalently. You enter. The library, first floor. The marble walls and vastness of the library's first floor amplify the droning wing noises of the great hornets that writhe across the high ceiling. Many shelves and volumes have been destroyed. The floor is clean of bodies. It was to their homes or the battlements that everyone ran, not the comfort of old knowledge. Suddenly, it had all become useless. The center of your work, of your art, where your hands were trained to brush ink across page while the vitae of creation ran like light through your fingertips, taught to make your ink drink you and harden your will. You were taught too much. There are shelves of books filled with the knowledge of old masters. There is also a locked case full of papyri, where the aberrants are locked away from the unready. Okay. Written in the hieroglyphs which so entranced you in your adolescence, you used to stare at them for hours until their lines and curves became meaningless with semantic satiation, obsessing over the subtle poetry and quivering, hidden energy in the shapes themselves. You knew how readily they could tear everything apart, and it made your heart flutter and your palms ache. But you were not always like this. The elder invokers held their secrets tight, believing that the stability of the city relied on their reluctance to spread knowledge. Their reluctance relied on weak locks. You snapped the hinge off the case to retrieve the papyrus of the one aberrant glyph you had not managed to see. Fire. The glyph teaches itself to you, practically slides into you, worming under and past your eyes and into your understanding. You now possess all of the knowledge that the elder invokers believed was required before the world could end. Their wings stir the air, cool gusts that smell of ozone and brush the hair out of your eyes. The dome above you, which depicted the deaths of gods, and which you had grown so used to staring at for long hours, is filling slowly with porous nests. Shredded pages and filmy wing scales drift down to coat the floor. Your feet feel sticky. Toppled shelves make movement impossible. What now? Guess gates, huh? The great black gates of the city had always kept it safe from those who coveted its arts and music. They did nothing at all against the translucent wings of hate's titanic harbingers, only prevented the citizenry from dying outside in the grassy fields. The room is narrow, lit by a single candle that sputters and coughs greasy smoke. A guard is here, slouched in a chair, trying to keep his entrails from leaving his body through a hole in his stomach. Blood laps down his front from his mouth. His eyes are glassy and pleading. He looks to you and coughs, groans, gurgles. On the wall is the winch that opens the city's front gate. You crank the winch. Outside the gatehouse, you can hear the low groaning of the city's gates opening to the dark fields outside. A small act of mercy, hitherto the only kind which you are capable. You lean forward, retrieving your brush and ink from your satchel, and mark the guard's forehead with the death glyph, channeling your will through the shaft of your brush. The guard's eyes widen and he begins to choke. The ink settles into his skin. Soon, his body is lax and lifeless. Fields. The dark sea of grass shivers and roils. The bloody orange horizon is dotted with the iron skeletons of distant towers. Everywhere on the horizon and in the sky, and above the city and on the walls, the hornets are buzzing, hovering, soaring, perching, nesting. They ignore you. Path. Leading away from the city, further out into the vast darkness of the fields and to the hills beyond, hornets are grazing here. They ignore you. Rising up from the fields like bloated sores off on the skin of the world, peaked with scabrous tufts of jagged, leafless forests, hornets are mating here. Hornets are laughing here. They ignore you. Branches snap like rotten teeth. The trees are tall and fleshless. No leaves, no moisture, no protection from the stars. Hills behind, a clearing filled with metal spires ahead. Hornets celebrating indulgently the brutal slaughter of your species here. They ignore you. The towers. The towers of signal, where he struck the earth and filled the air with soundless noise, and where ink made love to him and gave birth to the language. Each one is as wide as the oracle at its base, and each stretches so high that one must look straight up to see the top. Each is covered in tumescent, papery growths, nests, virulent and unnatural, all of them bubbling with massive newborn hornets. They ignore you. All of the others are dead. Here and in the city, you are alone with the hornets. Here, among the feet of the towers, you are alone with the hive. You have the components to burn it. You retrieve the file of ink and brush from your satchel. You open the file, dip your brush. You reach forward and shut your eyes. The glyph of fire rushes up and etches itself against the back of your eyelids. Your fingers begin to feel hot. The tip of your brush makes contact with the nearest tower. Nothing happens. Above, the hornets are laughing. Above, the hornets are breeding. Above, the hornets are multiplying. Above, hate is watching her children spread out across the surface of the earth like an infection, and watching one tiny creature with a brush attempting to use the gods' own gifts against her. But of course, the gods cannot be killed by their own weapons, and so she laughs. Well, that's cool. That's a sad world to live in, but it's cool. Well, I really need to go to sleep, so I'll leave it off there. I'll do the next one tomorrow, probably. See ya. That's it.